All right, this is No Excuses with Michael DeLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger, and we are here today. We're going to have our first live show. We got Michael with us. We have Mikey Jr. with us. Um, so some of the, just want to kind of explain what this show is going to be about. First of all, what we want to do is say thank you guys. The show is about you. The show has always been about you guys. It's not about us. It's about you guys. I wasn't real sure how we were going to be taken on YouTube. I was honestly somewhere around an 80-20. I thought there'd be 80% good feedback. I thought we have 20% that would be a little rough. But the feedback on YouTube has been overwhelmingly good. If I look at the percentages of every single show that we have released, we have the lowest rated show we have from a like percentage that YouTube provides was a 96.1%. And I would say when I look at comments and we read comments, that's about usually we're in that plus 95% positive feedback. Everyone has been great. I'm more grateful than I'll ever be able to express. Now, last thing I want to say is I dropped a link to our new Patreon show, which will be starting November 1st. If you go into our community, click on the community section, you'll have a link on as to how you can subscribe and be a part of our Patreon show, which will be a lot different than what you see on YouTube. Patreon is where we're really going to get into the heart of things, into the meat of things. The whole Patreon show is going to be about Michael's time in the Gambino family, stories that Michael, events that Michael was a part of. And he's going to tell these stories from his perspective, okay? So one of the things we're going to do, which I think is very interesting, is the John Gotti transcripts have never really been analyzed very deeply from anyone else who was there. Michael has his own perspective on the events of the tapes that were. We all know the famous tapes above the Raven Knight, all the things that were said above the Raven Knight, and we're going to go through the Gotti tapes line by line, and we're going to analyze these transcripts, and you're going to have a new perspective. I know a lot of Michael's perspective, so I think you guys are going to be very interested to hear how he's going to analyze some of this stuff. Now, the man, the star of the show, Michael DeLeonardo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard. Glad to have everybody. And just to reiterate what RJ said, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. That's good news for us because what you're receiving, you're accepting as truth and fact. And we're not here to change history. As I said in the past, we're here to document what I experienced, what I heard, and what I know, going way back. So, if we don't tell it, like somebody told me once, if we don't tell history the way we see it, somebody else is going to tell it the way they see it or hear it. So I'll leave it up to you all to decide what you think about what I say. And that's more important to anything else to me and the rest of the guys, is that we try to give you a new perspective on all the misnomers out there. And some of the people out there that's been out here banging the drum with their own causes and agendas, and that's good for them. I don't have a cause and I don't have an agenda. My life's an open book, always has been since the day I cooperated. So feel free at any time, post questions. Our new venture into Patreon is going to be very specific and defined as best we could. We want to be challenged. We want to be fact checked. I have no issue with that. I can be wrong. I'll hear it. I'll hear it out. I have a problem talking about me. So RJ's been trying to tell me to talk more about me, but it's more self-serving. I feel that you're perceived when you talk about when you're involved in something and you're talking about you. It's like I don't want to have an S on my chest like Superman. I just want to tell the facts as the way I see them. So don't misconstrue that as I'm trying to make myself bigger or better than what I was. Again, I'm going to tell it the way it is. If I'm critical of me in a story, I will be. And if I'm going to be critical of somebody else that made mistakes, even though I may have liked that person, loved that person, respected that person. We've all made mistakes in life, and especially in that life. And you'll see a different side of how I seen things. And my minimal role at that time, before John Sr. went to street, the prison, and I was left in the street with the whole Bugada, how my role changes and my voice changes. Before John goes away and Sammy flips, at a very, very, I was a grain of sand on the beach. But I sat back and watched and listened and seen the mistakes and seen the positives. And I try to incorporate that with his son and others that we'll talk about going forward. So that's my perspective, and I let everybody on here be the judge. There's nothing else more I could say is be critical, praise where you have to praise, but take us to task when you need to.
Thank you, Michael. We also have Mikey Jr. here with us. You know, he helps us out in the background a lot. You know, you don't always might not see his face every day, but he's very helpful with this show. Administratively, especially, he's really, really involved. He's been on here. He did 3 shows here with us. You guys left a lot of great feedback on the show that we did with Mikey Jr. Hey, Mikey, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys bringing me on. You felt some people may have some questions, so I'm here. Whatever everybody wants to ask, and I'll answer to the best of my ability. And thanks for being here, everybody.
So yeah, if you guys have any questions that you guys might have, drop them into the live chat. I am looking at them. Any questions that you have for Michael or Mikey, differentiate, or myself, sure, I guess I count too. But if you can just, so I know who you're asking the question to, you can call Mikey Scars Michael, and call Mike and call his son Mikey, or how about Junior? Michael and then Junior. Let's say that. So I know who you're asking the question for.
No works.
All right. So now, one of the things we wanted to do was bring on some of our guests, some of our people that have been with us for a while. So we sent out 10 requests. Not everybody was able to make it. I don't know who's going to come in. We have some people here now who want to come on and say some things. They'll ask some questions, talk with Michael. And so we're going to start now. We're going to jump in with a gentleman by the name of Charlie from the Bronx. Charlie, how are you?
I am good, RJ. How you doing?
Doing well.
Hello,
what do you want to say?
How's it going?
You can hear me. Hello. What's going on, Bo? How you doing?
Good.
Junior, how are you? Nice to see you all.
Pleasure.
Please give my mother your regards. Just on my way to work.
I will. That's what it's all about, working, right?
Yes. Every
Hey,
day.
Charlie, I looked at your place. You got 5 stars.
Yes.
5-star reviews.
I gotta maintain that.
Yeah, when I come up there, you're gonna make me a spin journey because nobody knows how to make it.
We already talked about that. No problem at all. I even brought a nice special pan just to make it for you.
He's seasoned already, right?
Yep,
Nice.
already seasoned.
Beauty.
How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's really good. Everything is really good. I got my son with me. I got RJ. So
You couldn't ask for anything better than that.
How's the weather up there? Cold yet?
It's like playing the lottery. One day is cold, one day is hot, one day it's crazy. But it's beautiful here. It really is.
Looks beautiful. It looks like there's not even a cloud in the sky.
No, today is clear. I mean, the weather's great.
now, Charlie, just so everybody can notice, we never interacted when you were in New York, right? We
say that one more time?
We never really interacted, just for foundation.
Never. No.
So, yeah.
I was a teenager still, and in my early 20s. So, did I see you? Absolutely. Did we interact? Absolutely not.
Yes. Yeah, just so that the people on here know that we meet people from the past, we reconnect, and then there's people later on. And you're one of those gentlemen that's been super respectful, great family guy, and you have a lot of input, a lot of content, a lot of history, and I don't want to go too far. I'll leave that up to you, but you've always been a gentleman and you know your stuff. So we
Yes.
pass it off to you.
From having the honor to living with Carmine Persico and knowing some of the history, I was on a couple shows with Robert Rosso, who's a great guy. I did time with him. Super, very intelligent man, very intelligent guy. Got a good show also. RJ, there's no show like yours. I stay drama free. I look at some of the comments here and there, and people they go for the silliest things. Sometimes they leave silly comments.
Well, you know what? We try to keep it real, and Rosso tries to keep it real. I stuff. And here's a guy who's been inside for a long time.
A long time.
A little differently, like yourself. You were away for a while. Dealt with many different men, and you have your perspective and the way you look up to them. And so does Robert, and he's doing a good thing, getting that message out.
See, there's a difference. Somebody had called me, left a message. I was a groupie. No, there's a difference in between showing people the respect where we grew up and how you have to act towards those people and show them that respect.
Well, when you go to prison, you know you learn respect. That somebody's going to teach you respect.
Elmira State Prison was no joke. That was New York State. And then once you hit the feds, that's where all the real ones are.
So, Charlie, if I could ask, if you don't want to answer any question, just say, Mike, we'll save that for another time, or I refuse to answer. It's okay. But
anything you want to know.
But when you were with Carmine, was that in Lompoc or
Go ahead.
Back, or the Butner?
No, Butner. I had a stroke and was sent to Butner Medical Facility. That's how I ended up there. And once I got there, Carmine had me checked out, and I ended up moving in the same cell with him. He came, approached me, and we played cards every day, ate at the same table every day. I could go on and on with the stories with him. I was with him for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Great man.
You know what? That's perspective.
Interacted with Mickey Boy.
Yeah, and that's the perspective.
John G.
Gambino? When you say John G, John Gambino? Johnny Gambino?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he did about 3 or 4.
He was with us also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie,
Butner was a place, it's a medical facility, if anybody don't know. And Charlie, you can elaborate on that.
It's got, 5 compounds. It's got 5 different compounds, the camp, the low, the 2 mediums, and the medical. If you could send where we were, it was me, Robert, Joey Testa, Johnny Gamarano, Carmine Persico, and then we were at the medium. At the low was Mickey Boy, Anthony T.G. Graziano, and a couple other guys.
Now, Joey.
After 4 years.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I say, Joey.
After my points dropped, I got shipped over there.
Okay. And they took care of you alive. You're still there, right? You caught a break.
Thank God.
With that stroke. Now, Joey Testa, Joey and Patty, I like them very much when they were in the street. And, Joey, of course, may not come home. It'd be nice if he did come home.
Sure.
But those were good. There also, I know the way the world perceives them as these serial killers and everything else. But you know what? They were gentlemen, super respectful. And you look at them, you never think anything out of order with them. They were regular guys, great guys, always smiling, all of them. Shame about his brother. the way he was killed.
Yeah, until he passed away, right?
Yeah, disgraceful what Gaspar did with him. So,
It was a shame.
yep.
Well, Charlie, we're thankful to have you on to come on. I know you said you had
RJ, I truly appreciate it. It's an absolute honor to just be here to talk with him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, and we'll be in touch again soon. Okay.
Sounds good. Mike
Good.
Jr., have
Good
a
to
nice
see you.
day.
I'll be in touch.
Take care.
All right. All right. Next, we're going to bring on Ann LeConte. She's one of our. We see Ann on every single show. Very nice. We had a phone call with her once or twice. So we're going to bring on Ann LeConte. Ann, welcome. How are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you for having me.
How's it going, Ann?
Very good. Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
Ann, what's
See all
happening?
of you on the video.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for
All
connecting with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
And when you send me that picture of your father when we first spoke, and you're another one that I did not know from my past, but shared the same neighborhood. Your father
Right.
was in Paul's Club when I was there, and when I seen the picture, of course, I readily knew him.
Right.
Good man, always respectful, and I always remember this guy smiling. So,
Right.
Good man, and sorry to hear his passing.
Yeah, he passed away in 1995. So
Wow, that far back, huh?
he was almost 80. So he was part of that older group.
Well, I gravitated to the old timers. I hung out with
Right.
those guys,
Right.
And, I'll start this out a little bit. Your grandfather, your father's father, had a long history, and probably your great grandfather along those lines also. It probably goes way, way back. And again, we connected and found each other online, and you were gracious enough to send in those magnificent photos, which are cherished, and they're right now they're on the internet. They'll be there for your family. Listen, we all had bad past, I guess, in that nature, the way the world and society sees us. But we know, like I told Charlie, we know these people a little differently.
Right.
Blood as loved ones and stuff. So our perspective, how we seen them in the house and growing up after that, and you as a daughter, yeah, I'm sure you have many funny stories.
Oh boy, I have a lot of stories. People don't believe it. They see the celebrity gangsters, if you will. The old timers, say if this is the radar, they were all the way down. You never saw them on the news. You never saw their pictures out there. So it's a whole different era.
Yeah, that's for sure. And your father came from a different generation,
Right.
and his father was, sacrificed in that life at a very young age.
Right. He was 43.
Yeah, and your father was how old at that time as a kid?
He was 15.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
he was the oldest of the 4 kids.
So he grew up with that, and
Right.
still got into the life because that was part of his lineage, his passion, and how they were born.
They sort of raised him to be part of it. I believe he was already in it because he was driving his father's car.
That's right.
Right.
That's true. My father was driving. He was born 1912. He was driving everybody around at 14 or 15 years old. That's true. They drove very young then. They didn't need a driver's license. Not necessarily.
Actually, he got a driver's license at 14 years old because remember, up until like the early 80s, the motor vehicle, they took baptismal certificates, and not the birth certificates. So I would imagine he showed something. So he had his driver's license at 14 years old.
Yeah. So, when did you live exactly in the Bensonhurst area? And then you moved later on. But give us a little history of your background.
We actually lived in the Marine Park area near Kings Plaza.
Okay.
My father was born on 2nd Street. Back they were born in the house, the midwife.
Sure.
We moved to Staten Island in 1971. So we lived on Staten Island all those years.
Now, 71 was like going to the country in Staten Island.
Right. The street that we lived on, there were actually horse stables. You heard a rooster crow in the morning. My mother loved it because my mother was from South Carolina, so she thought, "Oh, good, the country." But it didn't stay that way. They built pretty quick.
Pretty quickly, yeah. They went to the neighborhood when Brooklyn found that bridge.
Right.
They found the Guinea gangplank, which was called later on.
Right. Years before, my father sort of lived downtown Brooklyn. I guess they call it Carroll Gardens now, but they called it Red Hook back then. So his family lived on Carroll Street, President Street, Sackett Street. They did have a house towards the end, but when the father was murdered, that ended that. Apparently my grandmother married pretty quick, but the man took all her money and went to Italy. So my father sort of was taken, she was working actually, and this was during the Depression, and he went to work, well, that type of work. So they helped take care of the mother, and she was only 40, so she was a young widow. And unfortunately, I guess the stress of that, she died young too. She was only 53. So.
And what was your father's name, first name, last name? And because we're going to get people that would want to look them up. I know I posted the photos you gave. First name. What was your grandfather's first name?
My grandfather's name was Carmelo Lacanti. All right. His father's name was Cosimo. The only thing, I can't tell you much about Cosimo, just when I connected with a cousin in Italy, he said his great uncle came to meet an anonymous Lacanti cousin in Brooklyn. Well, he was living on 40th Street in Brooklyn because I got the information from the Ellis Island website and the records. And that cousin told me when I found him, he says, there was a defect in the family. So I knew where he was going. I says, and what defect may that be? I says, nope, you're talking to the direct descendant of the defect. They don't glamorize it over there like here. Here, I was surprised to see how this marketed over the last 20 years. It took me a long time to speak to anybody. I was trying to hide it. And about 20 years ago, my grandfather's business partner, the other one who was murdered, John Justra, they called him Johnny Silk Stockings. His niece reached out to me. She saw me on Ancestry and we became friends. And so around 2009, 2010, his death certificate shows up online and we're having a heart attack. So she looks up, she says, oh, there's a group in Yahoo called Gangsterologists. I says, okay, I'll join the group and I'll ask them, please put it in a file. So I did, and they knew who I was. It was kind of embarrassing. Oh, Carmelo's granddaughter, because some of them tried to contact us for years. They all wanted the story. And I would tell family members, nope, just throw the letter away. We don't know nothing, right? So that's how I met Rick Warner, and he reached out to me and we became friends. So I told him there were certain things I'd save for him. I would tell him, some of the story. But my father, he was born Cosimo also because then they named all the children after the grandparents. Right. But my father changed his name to Charles. But now if you look him up on some of these mafia sites, he used the name Buster Russo. I know every time he made a restaurant reservation, it was under the name George Russo. So they used a lot of alias names. Right.
I used the name once.
Hackenbush.
That's right. When they wouldn't let Brooklyn guys, which is high-end restaurants and places, years ago, they got fed up with Brooklyn guys coming in there. And the Bronx guys, I throw the Bronx guys in there too. And so when you call for reservation, they heard your accent. They knew you're from one of the outside boroughs. No reservations were booked tonight. So as Mikey said, I used to call up and I said, this is Dr. Hackenbush. I'd like a reservation for 2. And I would show up the way I was dressed, like gangster. And they would say, can we help you? Yeah, Dr. Hackenbush. And they would get a giggle. So
I never knew there was this whole younger generation. I thought in the 90s.
Well, we existed.
Right. I thought by 2000, everybody's going to be dead or in prison and we'll never hear about it again. And that is fine by me because, you know, when you grow up with it, it is sort of stressful. I mean, I could tell you stories. I heard things when I was a little girl. People would be surprised. Wow, you heard that? I heard the conversations. The other people, though, I knew my father's circle of friends. I'm going to call it the circle of friends. Like Terry Zappi was my godfather.
Wow.
And
You have a picture for us?
I don't have a picture of Terry Zappi. I have him on 8mm film, the baptism.
Nice.
I do have the baptismal certificate with his name on it. I have the box with all the, you know, the cemetery deed and everything. And I was going through this last night.
And he's one of those guys that were in today's world is under the radar, as you said earlier.
Right. I don't know if you can see this, but his name is on there with his wife. You know, I knew them as
Wow.
I knew them as, you know, Uncle Terry and Aunt Josie. This one's typed. I had another copy, but you can see there.
Nice. Great.
Hey Michael, can you explain as a question in the chat about if you can explain a little bit about who this person was?
Yeah, he was a skipper on the call. He goes way back. This guy, great guy, big money guy, huge.
What's his name again?
Terry Zappi or Tori Zappi. I know I've seen videos lately, and people are like, "Wow, we never heard of him." He was the business guru.
Yeah.
Castro Convertible Furniture. Actually, there was a connection to the medical system. I was a registered nurse. So when I was graduating, my father says, "You're going to work at New York Hospital." I says, "Well, why do I got to work there?" And I was only 21. Terry Zappi and Dr. So-and-so. Now, I'm not saying who the doctor is, the surgeon is. You may have heard Gravano say the bigwigs at New York Hospital. Well, there was a connection. So this Dr. So-and-so was married. This surgeon was married to the daughter of the owner of Castro Convertible. Remember the black and white commercial where the little girl was opening up, you know, even a child could open up the bed out of the couch. Sure. Well, he was married to her. And I'll tell you a little story. So when it's coming time to make the interview, my father says, just go there and tell them where you want to work. Make an appointment for the interview. Tell them where you want to work. Well, when I walked in there, the woman knew who I was. Oh, yes, Mrs. My former head nurse, Sandberg is waiting for you. I had that job before I walked out of there. And, you know, I felt guilty about that for years because there was another girl there for the interview and she was dressed nice in her blue suit and very appropriate for the interview. And I got the job and she didn't. And I got it not because of on my own merit. I got it because of that connection. So there was a big connection with the medical system that people don't know through the Teamsters Union, because people remember who were in the Teamsters Union, they had great medical benefits, and the surgeons, they became wealthy. So, you know, I always tell people the medical system took the mob's business model and ran with it today, as everybody could see what's going on.
That's politics.
Yeah, huge. So, you know, there's another one actually who I knew as Uncle, you know, Chris Riccici, Big Chris. He used to,
was another captain.
Right. He did a 4th of July barbecue every summer for years, like back in 1969, 70. And he lived in Colonia, New Jersey then, before he went to Florida and Las Vegas. Frankie Depp. He was Teamsters connected. Sometimes my father would take me to the wedding if my mother wasn't feeling well. And every time Frankie Depp saw me, he says, "Oh, I wish I had a son," because he had 3 daughters. He didn't have a son. So these are sort of the people I knew. I had no idea this whole, I didn't even know you existed until I saw you on TV. When I came to Florida, I just didn't watch the news. I didn't keep up with it. I started watching it. My mother was on hospice care for 2 years between 2001 and 2003. And her best friend was the best friend husband was the underboss of the Genovese family. So she came to visit. She took my mother food shopping, and they were putting all the chicken in the, very nice for my mother, labeling all the chicken in the Ziploc bags. And so she says, "Did you hear?" And we were having coffee, and we said, "What?" Well, they got Gravano's daughter and wife on tape. We were shocked. We were like, "Wow, how did they allow it?" Because people don't realize getting caught on tape was a very serious offense at one time. If you got caught on tape, and this is from the old timers, that basically you allowed them to record you because you talked in a room or whatever where they could record you. Because I used to hear when I was little, "Don't talk on the phones were tapped. Keep your mouth shut. Don't talk on the phone." So, we were shocked. Wow. And so I started watching the news, and that's how I saw you.
How'd I look?
Well, and I thought, oh, wow, I didn't even know the whole thing was still in business. I thought it imploded. Really. I thought people were talking. I'll tell you a little story. In 1990, when John Gotti, was arrested. Actually, it was when Gravano. I was in the kitchen, and I have twins that are 32, but they were babies. So they were sort of on this point of view. And my father walked into the kitchen, and Eyewitness News was on. So he saw the TV before I did, and he says, "He's a rat. I can't believe it." He was carrying on. I was sort of afraid of him. Just going on. Him of all people, who would have thought? On and on. He was really shocked. And to be honest with you, I wanted to say his health was declining for a long time. He was in heart failure a long time. One of my specialties in nursing, I was a CCU nurse there at New York Hospital for a few years. So I saw his health declining, and I wanted to say, well, why can't that be you?
Oh my.
Because his health was declining. Maybe he would still in his 70s go out sometimes 3 days at a time. We wouldn't see him. I mean, you know the deal. And I knew his health was declining. My mother and my brother really didn't, but I knew because when he had a heart attack in 1985, when the cardiologist was going over the numbers, I knew his heart took a big hit because he went to a hospital in Brooklyn and he couldn't find a parking spot, and he parked blocks away and actually walked having this heart attack, just made it into the ER just in time. And so we really shouldn't have walked. It took a hit. And, when I would talk to my father, I would hear the fluid in his lungs just talking to him. So I was hoping he would get out of it.
There's no getting that one, kid.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't.
He could have got a medical note from the nurse, though.
Right.
Did you know the nurses got a medical note?
And he wasn't retiring, but I do have a lot of stories, I'll share in the future about accountants, how everything looked legitimate, businesses. And this was all Terry Zappi. Anything you heard about like Carlo Gambino with the safety deposit box and, different safety deposit boxes and the businesses, it was sort of, they were looking to make it like a Fortune 500 company, make it look like a legit. So I think that's why they picked Paul Castellano, because they were trying to make it a business.
Well, and
yeah,
I'm sorry. Are you okay? Oh.
So, it's interesting. You grow up, I'm sure nobody can tell you they didn't know what their dad was doing. Or, they were different from when I was a little girl. And you pretty much put it together at a young age. So there's a lot of stories. People will be like, wow.
Well, Ann, hopefully,
for anyone who doesn't know, Ann has a YouTube channel. She shares a little stories every now and then. We have Ann who posted a thank you to Michael and I on her community. So if you guys want to hear more stories from Ann or anything, you'll see a little a video on our community. Check her out. And I'm sure Ann's going to probably share some of these stories maybe some point on her channel. So, but Ann, it was so nice for you to come on and join the show.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. I didn't expect an invite, so thank you so much.
We're on it. We're on it.
Well,
And I'm happy to share. I got a lot of stories. It took me many years to want to share, many years. And, now I'm ready to share. So.
Well, and when you we are subscribed to your channel, and if we see you post any videos, we'll be happy to share them to our audience. All right. But thanks for joining the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.
That was
all right. So we're going to take a few questions from the live chat. We don't, looks like some of the, I don't know, we had some technical difficulties or some people dropped off who were going to attend, but I'm going to pop, Michael, these are some of the questions that people are asking in the chat. You can answer them if you want. If you don't want to answer them now, you just tell us, all right? This one here is pretty funny. What's the biggest bet you've ever took, and did you throw it off or hedge it?
Oh, well, I think at the time when I was doing it, physically doing it, probably 5,000, and you always have to hedge them off because it's not about holding the bets. That is not the key to bookmaking. You work on the juice, the 10%. Any good bookmaker will gamble with a little money. But let's say somebody bets 5,000 on the Eagles and 5,000 on the Raiders, right? You want that to be even. So somebody's going to lose and you're going to win 10% either way, no matter who wins the game. You're not gambling. Somebody's going to win that 5, they get it, but someone's going to lose and they're going to give you that 10%. And that 500 goes right in your kick. That goes right in your pocket. So it's not about taking the biggest bet. It's about managing the monies that come in and out. You take $100,000 bet if you had a big enough bank and big enough outlets to edge it off, to hedge all the money off, where you could work on that percentage. That's where the money is. That's where a great bookmaker comes into play, not gambling. Because if you hold a bet, you're really gambling. It's like you might as well just go make a bet at times, unless you know something.
Mikey Jr. got a question for you. I think I asked you this on our show.
I seen one question. That's why I put the bottle up from.
Junior, did you ever consider joining the mob?
No.
I know.
Never. That's not for me.
Yeah, I knew your answer.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, why, Michael?
A lot of different
I'll
reasons.
give you tough questions. Good. I'll put you on the spot. Go.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Just not the life for me. Listening to people tell you what to do every day, that's got to be a hard way to live. So yeah, that's not for me. We're getting a phone call to go just possibly shoot somebody for somebody else's reason is just, I don't know. I can't comprehend that.
Very good. I like that answer. It's the first time I heard you articulate that. Very good. And Yari's a very good poster who asked you that question. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I see him. Yep.
Do you remember Paulie G?
Yes. Absolutely. Good kid. Could have had better schooling. Joe Benanti wasn't the best teacher to look up to. Maybe if he had a better teacher, he'd be alive. But who knows how much damage he would have been doing while being alive. We don't know. But a good kid. I liked him. Was
he as tough with his hands as they say?
I never seen him swing it out, but he had a pretty good rep in the neighborhood, and he was one of those up and coming kids. But like I said, he had where they hung out, the American Legion, those bars, and his super bad teacher. Joe Benanti was a made guy with the Banana family. He was a Manhattan guy originally and came to Brooklyn, hung around Sparrow's Club every day, but wrong teacher for that kid.
Hypothetical question for Mikey. If Frankie would have survived, do you think Sammy would have still cooperated?
Well, Sammy wouldn't have been in the administration if Frankie was alive. He would never have made the administration because Frankie would have been there and probably would have had a different conseiller at the time. Maybe Sammy, after a while, would have gravitated into the administration, which he did have the qualities to be there. But I think with Frankie alive, there's the question about cooperating. There's so much that I will talk about that goes in between Frankie's death and what happens after that. Be a lot to talk about.
Why was Frankie Loke picked as the consigliere by John Gotti?
You know what, Joe Messina, that's a very good question. People don't realize that John had a relationship with Frankie Lowe going way back. Matter of fact, there are some pictures that I've seen, surveillance pictures going way back at Neil's club at the Ravenite, that has a young Frankie Lowe standing next to John. So they did have a relationship. And Frankie Lowe did have one of his guys in his crew, Vinny Artuso, who's passed now, as one of the shooters on the Castellano hit. He was a shooter, not a backup guy. Vinny was a shooter. So how does he get there? John had to have a great relationship with Frankie Lowe and trust him. That's something that's missing. I'm giving away a little bit about what I wanted to talk about. That was a pretty good question.
That's a good one. It's a good one. So, Michael, I want to ask you. So, I went through I read every comment ever posted on our page. And some of the ones that we really got a lot of that I wanted to run by you, that I wrote down to ask you for this show. One of the ones was on Roy Demeo. When you put out your theory on Roy Demeo that, it's crazy to even believe that John Gotti was afraid of Roy Demeo. That still seems to be a popular discussed thing. There's different perspectives. You have one perspective. Sammy Sammy talked about it. He has a difference of opinion from you. How do you could you add on to that discussion that we had in any way about your opinions on Roy Demeo, John Gotti?
Well, if I could ask, did you watch Sammy's opinion, or did you read it? I didn't see it. I think I'm pretty sure I need to watch that first before I give his opinion. I could opine on what he said, but I'll tell you how I feel. And again, this is not a beat the John Gotti drum. This is just how I feel. Now, the real story is this. When Paul asked John in front of some other people, and Gloria was sitting there, standing there, the maid, because Paul said it in front of Gloria. He wanted to show Gloria how he gives out murder contracts in front of her. John actually pissed his pants when he asked me. You hear that one? Yeah, it was all over the floor. And Gloria got down after John left, and she was wobbling. She was, Mr. Paul, I can't believe you did that, Mr. Paul. Oh, my God, look at John. Oh, my God. And he says, you want to go in the kitchen and make me that toast? And don't
I get your point.
But how crazy as that is, and the people are, I don't want to call anybody crazy, but Paul was giving John an order, and he almost refused. Now, tell me what happens when you refuse a hit in the mob. Tell me when somebody thinks you're afraid to kill somebody in the mob. But then John goes home, washes his clothes, gets a new pair of pants on, and one day says, I'm going to get Gravano, DeChico, Lacasio, Amon, and a whole bunch of other guys, and we're going to go kill the boss of the commission. Just because I'm worried about killing Roy, but I'm not worried about killing the boss of the commission and facing the wrath of at least 4 families that you killed the boss without permission. So I'm a little torn between which story I lean to, how tough John was.
That leads into another question I wanted to ask. Well, so some of the criticism, we get a 3% of the time.
We take it. Hey, if it's constructive criticism, bring it.
Yeah. This is one of the 3%ers. All right. But it's allowed 3%. Sometimes we get accused of being like we beat the drum for John Gotti, or we talk too much or you talk too much about John Gotti, or I've even heard I heard about myself being on the Gotti payroll. Never talked to a Gotti in my life. I don't know any single Gotti's phone number. The most interaction I ever had with a Gotti was I spoke with Angel has left me a comment in the comment section. I've said thank you back, and she said thank you back to me. We've been cordial in comment sections. never worked for a Gotti. Our channel is not on a Gotti payroll, but I wanted to ask you about that. You worked for John Gotti. He was your boss.
Well, I mean, if you work in a job and somebody's any job, and the guy's your boss, and then later on you want to write a book, well, who are you going to write about? And the guy in another company? There's only so much you can write about your competition in another company. It's going to come back to your experiences under the tenure of the person you work for, no matter what business you're in. My business was, John was the head of our family. He was a representative of our family. He got me straightened out. He made me a captain. Wanted to make me consigliere. I've interacted and handled the construction business for him. I didn't ask him to give it to me. I didn't want it. He says, you got it with that other guy, Eddie, and handle it. So, and inclusive of other stuff as being a request that him and his son run the family from behind the scenes. So if I talk about John Gotti, what else would I would talk about? That's why I don't understand it. Now, the point of beating his drum in a good way all the time, John, like me and every other human being in any business, never mind our business, made mistakes. I try not to think about the bad things about what people did, but in the course of my event telling, there are going to be things that I will say that were mistakes by John, et al., everybody in the family that hurt us. And it's not just our family, it was our whole family. Mistakes were made. So it's not beating John's drum. I appreciated what that guy did for me. I respected him with all the mistakes. This is the life. People make mistakes, a lot of bad ones. I'm sure John knew about his mistakes when he was in Marion. So I will give my point of view on the events that happened. And if it's critical of John, I'm sure John knew he made those mistakes himself. But I'm not here to bash John. I'm not here to bash anybody. But I'll tell you what happened from my point of view. Again, I'll let everybody else judge. But I'm going to give you the way I seen it. And I seen John as somebody that when I seen him, I smiled. And I know when he seen me, most of the time, unless he lost gambling, he smiled. And then he came around. He let me in his circle. I didn't go into his circle. He brought me, and I will explain how down the road, into his circle. He put me in John, a Brooklyn guy, a Bensonhurst guy, that he brought me into his circle. I'll articulate that down the road.
I know we talked about this, and this is a plan that's going to come out on a Patreon show. So you can tell me, skip this question, but someone just popped it up. Do you agree that Sammy planned the Castellano hit?
Yes, he was definitely in on it.
Simple enough.
Was he the guy who planned it? No. Was he a guy, a participant? Yes. Was he a big part of planning it? Yes. John planned it. John was the one that had the exposure. John wanted to be the boss. So Sammy didn't go to John to say, let's get Paul. Okay. John went to Frankie and Sammy.
Jeff Nadeau says that Frankie Lucasio is an extremely strong gangster, super underrated. He literally owned the Bronx. He was made in the 1950s. I don't know if he's talking to somebody or what here. Hang on.
Well, I'll answer it if he means anywhere else. I'll answer that.
Good.
He didn't own the Bronx. Not to upset Jeff.
Jeff, we support you, brother.
No, there's no sign at the toll booth. You go over the Triborough Bridge or the Willis Avenue Bridge and say Frankie Lowe owns the Bronx or TG owns Staten Island. I know guys thought they had booths there where you collect the toll. They had a guy in there to collect the money because it was their booth. But nobody owns anything. Was he a strong figure in his area? Yes, he was a strong guy. There's a lot of other guys in the Bronx, very strong, very well-respected guys forever in the Bronx. Bronx was a major players. Guys lived in the Bronx going way back Nagwala lived in the Bronx. A lot of Frank Scalicia lived in the Bronx. I mean, you talk about heavyweights there in that life. But nobody owns anything. But Jeff is right. Frank was a very, very respected, influential player in his area of the Bronx, which is around Arthur Avenue, where the West Side was, and some other guys, up until today.
Kenneth says, anything on the Cherry Hill Gambinos?
Nah, nothing.
Yeah.
I heard they got restaurants down there, though. I was Sicilians hang around down there, good restaurants.
Did you have any dealings or run-ins with the Harlem Purple Gang?
Negative. Well, the Purple Gang originates in Detroit, you know. The original Purple Gang is from Detroit. There was a Purple Gang, called themselves Purple Gang going way back, and that was like a breeding ground for people that you know came into mob life later on, and really serious guys came out of there. Absolutely.
This is a pretty good one. Can you comment on Little Italy, Manhattan being a center of wise guys as compared to after the John Gotti era when they disappeared from the view? That's interesting because me and you had a kind of a discussion about that before. So what this guy's really saying is at some point they were the epic center, and then after John Gotti, they kind of disappeared from that area to a certain extent.
Well, look, Lower Manhattan, you got Elizabeth Street, you have Mulberry Street, you have Mott Street, you have all those streets around there. There was a heavy migration of immigrants that came in the late 1800s and lived down there, and they just about basically broke it up. Sicilians on Elizabeth Street, Calabrese on this street, Napolitans on that street, and you know they were very formative for decades, you know, almost let's say 70, 80 years. And the people that bought buildings down there and everything, and social clubs, and they had new restaurants they opened up, and the pastry shops. It was an epicenter of Italians living down there. And then when they started selling their buildings, you know, from when their grandparents bought them, they started to move out the Italians. But as far as the mob, there's not too many mobsters left to be on Mulberry Street.
Didn't your grandfather start in Manhattan and then came to Brooklyn?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them started there and then moved to Brooklyn.
That's right. Spring Street, Avenue, First Avenue, 12th Street, 11th Street. Yeah, they lived around there in the 1800s. Baxter Street. So you're talking pre and post. Yeah, it was just a matter of the people moving away, Italians moving away and getting off of Mulberry Street. But you know, it minimized after John, but John wasn't the cause of everybody going away. No, there was still plenty of guys. There probably is still a strong representation down there of guys. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about guys that are down there now. It's not my business, not my concern for me to guess. But I would say there's guys still there. John, it wasn't John disappeared, so everybody disappears. No.
Do you remember Doc's Bar in Brooklyn?
Absolutely. Sure. Sammy's place.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a murder committed in there, at least one.
Michael, what cafe did you frequent on 18th Avenue?
Joe, name one. I didn't miss it. There was Cafe Bella. Yeah, it was like Cafe Italia. Was mine for a little while. Part of it, I had a little piece of it. You know, all the cafes, every cafe was great. Best coffee, best biscotti, focaccierias on 18th Avenue. It was really a place to be if you wanted to eat and drink and have a good time at one time. 18th Avenue, going way back. Great spot.
Have you ever dealt with anyone from Boston?
No.
Mike, you have any dealings with Philly?
Another no.
Okay. What is this here? It looks like hello, Bill Catola. Bill Catola says hello. He says, bless you both, Michael and Michael Jr. And what's up, RJ?
Hey, Bill, glad to see you on. And we owe you a phone call, and we're going to catch up with you very soon. wish you the very best of luck on your podcast. And if we could drive some traffic over there, RJ, let's do that for him. Let's give him a shot. I owe it to his father. His father was a friend of mine, and circumstances happen. That's just the life, and Billy understands that, just like I had to understand it now. So I wish you the best, you and your family, and we'll be talking soon. RJ will put together a call.
Yes, Bill. Hey, Bill. Yeah, I'll reach out to you, and I have been checking out your show. I watched all your episodes. Funny stories you put out about your little dog that you between the little puppy between you and that I think Sammy gave to your father. Interesting story. And by the way, I really enjoyed your interview with Jeff. They do want to sit down. I watched the entire interview. It was a great interview. Michael and I will put your channel on our community board. Let's see here. So, Michael, I guess what I'll ask you is my last question.
RJ, I have a question. There's some of these posters I see like on here that come on a lot. Is there any way we can ask them if they want to come on the live chat? We could throw them up.
Yeah, if anybody.
You got Joe Accardo here. He's always on. You got Surefire always on. You have a lot of people like Pat and John Travellino. Where are you? What happened to you guys?
Yeah, I don't know where they. I mean, I just dropped a link inside of the chat. So if anybody would like to pop in, please make your questions brief. So everybody, do a minute or two, and then it's not personal. We just got there'll be other people who might want to say something, move the show along. So I just put a link in the chat. If you guys anyone wants to pop in.
Richie Gerard, I remember him way back. I know him as a kid. And there's John Travellino. He just left a comment, 204. He's in. Now, John would be interesting because John knows me way back. I know when he was a kid and grew up into a man. And I met him. I put him with Jackie Nose for a little while. He hung out with Jackie. So he may have something interesting to say.
Now, so what I'll say is this. Because this is a live chat, I don't know who's coming in or who's coming out. Anyone can click the link. So I see people popping in right now. I don't know certain people, but I'll knock you off in a second. If there's anything, we're not going to, if there's any strange or weird questions or anything that's troublemaking, but we'll give you a shot.
Columbus shot, he discovered America. Look, like.
Right here, we got Tommy from, hang on. We'll start here with Tommy from the Bronx. Tommy, hello.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tommy from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I appreciate the content from you guys. It's been great. I'll make it quick. I was just curious, Mikey, if you had any dealings with Robert DiBernardo. And
no, yeah, go ahead.
Just kind of what your thought process is. There's like two views as to why I guess he got whacked. Obviously he was a focal point of the Gotti movie, and then also if you hear from Sammy, it was kind of I don't know if it was a personality thing against John, which obviously I know you have a really strong relationship with, feel very strongly about. But then there's another side of it that it's like, okay, well, Sammy was looking to take over some of the rackets that DiBernardo had. I grew up on Bay 50th, right by where this happened on Stillwell Avenue.
Yeah, the Esplanade?
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. The Esplanade got shot up when I was, 3-4 years old, and was just curious if maybe you knew anything about that also. But I've always just been curious about DiBernardo because he didn't seem as if he was any type of threat to John.
Well, Tommy, you follow this pretty well, and you laugh and you post some quality questions. Now, I never met you, right?
No. But I've been reading books since I'm a little kid. It's just been the past few years, everything has kind of exploded on YouTube. But I used to take the train back and forth in high school, college, and I read all these mob books when I was a teenager. Now I'm in my 30s, and now there's so much of it on YouTube, right? So it's great, but I've been reading this stuff for a long time now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're pretty articulate. You're very articulate. You should have your own show, and I think you would do good with speaking engagement.
Thank you.
You'll make a good orator.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, going back to DB.
Yeah.
I met DB in 76, 77 area. Classy guy. Really a classy guy. DB got killed, and I will have a show on DB and with some other people that lost their lives. I will give you what I had said before is he had the nerve to ask Angelo Ruggiero back for some money that Angelo took from him. He had the nerve because he gave it to him, no Shylock loan, just lent him the money, which I think, my opinion, they were going to kill him, so they took his money.
Okay.
As devious as that sounds, that's as devious as they play. DB died, my opinion, for zero. Let me go like this: zero.
So, yeah.
But I'll explain that. My opinion. I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. I wasn't planning. I didn't hear any rumors. But I'll give you my assessment as I've seen things unfold in my tenure about events with everything, not just with DB. But DB was, to me, he was no threat to anybody at any time, anywhere.
Right. Do you guys mind if I throw in another question?
Yeah, no, go right ahead. You're
okay. Good. So the thing is like, a lot of times, we go to, okay, well, if you violate the rules of the mafia, this is the reason why, you may find yourself dead, right? And unfortunately, it sounds like he was one of these people that didn't violate anything, and it was just strictly a greed thing. And it sounds like, based off what you're thinking as well, that it kind of falls into that category. But I did have a follow-up. There was a show that came out on HBO a few years ago called The Deuce. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but what they did was they talked about kind of the prostitution and all of the stuff with the pornography in Times Square. Mm-hmm. And they did have a character very briefly that was supposed to be based on DB. Now, they insinuated in the show that he was involved in like child pornography and things like that. So I was curious to ask you, if you knew anything about that, because obviously, the code of the mob is you wouldn't be able to deal with something like that, right?
Codes promises are made to be broken. Depends who you're close to.
Right. So I was curious if maybe you had any insight that you can elaborate on as far as that type of stuff is concerned, or if that's just like a misnomer.
No, definitely not a misnomer. And there was on earlier, she mentioned a fellow named Chris Rikiki. He was a player with DB in the porn business. They did have the places, the peep shows, etc., with all the people that owned them and controlled them, along with some other families, not just ours. They did have the porn business. And I think, as Michael Francese had Deep Throat movie, right? They did that, and some other X-rated movies at the time, which were unprecedented for the time. Today, everybody's naked on TV today, so it don't matter. But at that time, it was, Yeah, he definitely had something to do with as far as child porn, as me knowing about that directly, no. But porn is porn. There is no limitation. The hypocrisies and double standards, as you led into with this, right, is so prevalent. It's just about how much you bring in and when you become expendable. And as we know, what somebody could take from you once they learn it. And then you could be made a non-entity and just be cast aside, or you could not exist no more. So I hope that encapsulates a little bit where you were going.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I appreciate the insight. like I said, it just falls into that category where it's somebody got murdered and they didn't even really violate the rules, and
Well, look, Tom, not to cut you off.
yeah, no, go ahead.
There are rules.
Right.
They give you a litany of rules that you could die for.
Right.
And I got a funny story about that. I'll tell you when I got straightened out. But it's the hypocrisies and double standards, because guys do this, break rules all day. It's done. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
You'll see it. I'll tell you down the road. You'll see it in each story.
I'll squeeze one more in, and I appreciate the time. When the Esplanade got shut up on Bay 50th, I don't know if that was 1990, 91, 92, but I lived on West 15th Street. I just moved out of Brooklyn probably about 5 years ago. But, are you familiar with what took place there? Because I think it was like innocent people that got killed, unfortunately.
Really? I didn't know that. You're telling me something. I never heard that. There's somebody died. I know there was the Esplanade Patty Marsala had the Esplanade.
Yeah.
Patty was a good guy as far as I know. I don't know what he did with everybody else. He was friendly with Eddie Garofalo, Hunk. He was friendly with a lot of guys. A lot of people like Tonto Mirabile from the Banana Family going way back. Patty was a good guy. I never heard that story. That's a new one.
Yeah,
but I'll find out for you if I can. I'll
it's no biggie. I just remember being a little kid and hearing about it. But I appreciate the content, and please do more of this types of stuff, and I'll give somebody else a shot here. But great job, guys.
You're a gentleman. Thank you.
Tommy, I remember seeing you on Jimmy's show, right?
Yeah. I talked to him a couple of times. Most of the time, it's me. I'm able to see like the repeat, but I got the notification on my phone today, and I'm sitting down watching football. I just did a Halloween party with my daughter, so you guys picked a good timing for it.
I don't go nowhere. I got an answer for you.
Okay, go ahead.
See how fast I can work sometimes? I didn't corroborate this yet.
Okay.
But, somebody just told me it was Gas Pipe Son that shot the kid.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it ever came out, but somebody just told me that just now.
So I was just in Brooklyn a couple of weeks ago. I went to the Met game. They got knocked out in the playoffs, right? But I was at game one. So I live in Maryland now, but I was living in Northern Virginia for a while. But I was up there the first game of the playoffs, and I drove past Bay 50th just to see what it looks like. And when you drive along the Belt Parkway now, there's so many high-rise buildings there. It's crazy. But I did drive past Esplanade because, like I said, the apartment I grew up in was right there. And, everything is all boarded up, and there's a for sale sign there. And it's just crazy to drive past. And I'm sure for you, going back way before my time. But, like I said, great content. I love it. And, you're not taking shots at anybody. That's not the purpose of the show. And, as soon as I see that with some of the content creators, like I can't even tune in and watch it, So I really appreciate it. But please keep doing this more often.
Hey, Tommy, I just want to say personally, I'm glad you said that because, I did Black Handprint for over a year before I started with Mike. I never got into that mess. And one of the things Michael and I, when him and I agreed to start doing this show, that was the first thing we discussed.
Right.
You say whatever you want to say. You're going to attack us all you want. We're never going to play into that madness. We're going to do an elegant show where you can laugh and be a part of something. You can have your opinion. I mean, you don't have to be over here cheerleading us all the time. You can say, but there's a diplomatic way to go about a disagreement. There's a diplomatic approach. In my opinion, there's a diplomatic approach to everything. You can be really upset by something, but an intelligent person can explain that anger and that disagreement in a measured manner. The biggest show of an underintelligent person is a person whose head's on fire. All he's saying is he can't control himself. And I heard someone say before, when someone can control your emotions, then that person is your master.
Yep.
So, we try to have a show where we gentlemen, and we respectfully agree or disagree, and we just keep the show going. And that's, I promise you, this channel will never be one of those junky channels where it's just about war all day long. So
we'll shut it down first before we get there. We'll shut it down.
Yeah, it seems like that. You know, the world is so divided right now, and it's like, why am I going to come on here for something that's strictly a hobby, right? And you know, we all need things in life for our downtime in order for us to perform our jobs as a husband or a father or an employee, right? And why utilize that time to just feed into negativity and just hear negativity? You know, it's only it's only going to affect us in a negative manner, right? So that's the way how I look at it. But I think you know, that's evident that, you know, your channel is not like that, which I really appreciate, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people on here too that appreciate it too. But yeah, just, I know you were reading off the questions there in the chat, but I was like, you know, if I'm gonna do a deep dive into these conversations, I was just kept writing like, hey, drop a link. But yeah, again, appreciate you guys letting me on, and looking forward to more of it. You got it.
Thank you, Tommy. I give you my word, brother. We'll leave YouTube before we go to war. It's not worth it. So thank you, brother. Thank you,
got
brother.
it. Take care, guys.
Be good, Tommy.
You too. Take care.
RJ, John Travellino's trying to get on.
Yep, I'm bringing him on next. I got him here. Let's see here. There he is. Are you?
How you doing? Hey, what's up, Mikey?
Long time, bro.
How you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah.
Junior, how are you? RJ? It's commendable that your son didn't follow. Very commendable. That's like old time stuff, man. Like when the old gangsters, like, you know, the old mobsters, they if you said that you brought in your son, they looked at you like that was a disgrace, you know? But it's very commendable, Junior.
Thank you.
Very commendable.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm breaking cherry here. What's going on?
So, John, why don't you tell everybody how I know you and you know me?
Michael knows me since I'm a kid. Michael was always, and I'm not blowing warm smoke, I'm going to tell you how Michael is. He's a straight hour. He's true blue kind of a guy. And never, ever mistake his kindness or his quietness for weakness. Then you make yourself a problem. But we did a lot of hedging, that's for sure. And introduced to Jackie, and he's a fun guy, unbelievable, happy-go-lucky guy. He told me, you're surrounded by assassins. Don't get involved with this stuff. Yeah. If it was 20, 30 years ago, yeah, maybe, but not now. And, you know, growing up in that neighborhood was phenomenal. You never knew. That's one thing you never knew is what Mikey was up to. He was a quiet guy. He was respectful, never talked down to anybody. But meanwhile, you always knew in the back of your mind, don't cross. But a gentleman, and to this day, he's a true blue kind of a guy. I'll tell you. Maybe you want to hear about growing up in that neighborhood? Yeah. It was a mecca.
It was 84. Now, first of all.
Oh, 84.
How many characters were on there?
Oh, my God. You know what? I never knew until, you know that guy Zappy you were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
His father and mother lived on that block.
That's right.
In that big old greenhouse. Like, you know, they had that monster where they built the White House. The Callops built the White House over there.
Yeah, how gross was that guy, Zappy?
Oh, my God. He was miserable. But they tried to finagle the price or something like that, and they never knew about Zappy. Yeah. And when the sun came up, it was like, oh, shit, what happened? We got to calm down. But it was a mecca. You didn't have to go. You could go, let's say, 10 blocks, and you can get anything you wanted. Anything. There was a butcher. There was a baker. There was Pastosis. There was Frankie Fruit. There was They even had a savings and loan, Regabudo. Remember Regabudo on 17th Avenue?
That's right.
You want to play the number, you go down to the candy store. It was
From you. You have
yeah,
to go.
you didn't have to go anywhere out of that neighborhood. We were like confined. But you did need permission to sneeze, I'll tell you. You did anything wrong, you needed permission. And everything was settled like that. Michael, you know, nobody, you didn't see none of the cops or nothing like that. Everything was settled, like, you know, either by Joe Butch, Joe Piney Armone, you know, all of these guys. Joe Colombo, when he brought Italian American Civil Rights League to 84th Street and 17th Avenue.
4th Street from your house.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. We had played a football game there, got into a fight, and they dragged us all into that big garage.
That's
and
right.
we were peeling onions for Lucy sausage and peppers. They never, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
Are they still around, John? Is Lucy Sausage still doing the feast?
Yeah, they're still doing the feasts and everything. Yeah. Yeah, they're still around. But it was just an amazing place, man. We're on in Brooklyn. Can you see Mickey Rourke, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Sitting on a stoop with kids, loving life. Sammy Davis Jr., Joe Pepitone, Jimmy Roselli singing right on the street. And the block parties, oh my God, they were like mini feasts.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
Well,
People,
what John is
Yeah.
talking about, when Joe Colombo had the Italian American League, the main chapter was on 17th Avenue and 84th Street. And anybody wanted to see Joe, which at that time, everybody wanted to see Joe. The league, yeah, everybody came to that corner. And we were kids. I was 14, 15 years old, hanging out there. And I'll have some great stories down the road about that as young kids. And John, you were there. You seen all of this. What he did,
man.
What he did for us. Boxing rings, baseball, ping pong, everything.
Tommy Karate teaching karate lessons. I had my junior captain pin. My mother probably still has it.
That's worth money.
Oh, yeah. I ain't never giving that up.
Yeah,
I'll pass it down.
that's right. Yeah, it was a different. Our neighbor was. I'm not gonna say different than everybody else's because we didn't live in anybody else's neighborhood, but it was so close. If you were a kid and you got in trouble 4 or 5 blocks away, you heard, Michael, I'm telling your mother.
Mother, yeah, everybody knew who you were. It was unbelievable.
All the kids, you know.
Yeah,
everybody knew us.
and you go to a neighbor's door, right? And they'll be sitting down eating right away. Sit down, grab a plate, manja. And you'd say, I'm not hungry. Sit down and eat. All right. And then I asked an old timer one time, Mike, and I said, why do they do that? Like, you know, they force you to eat. And you know what he told me? He says, because in the Italian heritage, people are most relaxed when they're eating. And we want you to feel most relaxed.
Like family. Correct.
Like family.
Right.
Unbelievable times. I miss them. I can't say I don't miss them. I'll tell you the truth.
I tell about the fireworks show.
Oh my God. People, it was like the Gucci brothers setting off fireworks off the street. What about that kid? Do you remember that kid who got hit in the face with a mortar?
Jojo. I was right there.
Oh man, we were sitting right on the stoop, and everybody told
right in the face, 6-inch mortar, lifting him out of his shoes.
Oh my God. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And everybody told him, don't look in there, but boom.
Hit him right in the
Goodbye.
Face. And you know what? Everybody we all had nice cars, right? At that time. Remember?
Oh.
And some of our friends,
Yes.
he ain't get my fucking car. And that was that. Wait for the ambulance. They ain't coming to my car.
He ain't getting in my car. Everybody was debating. What are we gonna do? Get a towel.
Yeah,
Get a towel. Wrap him up. Wait for the ambulance.
He came and looked like the mummy.
Oh my God! They must have did a lot of reconstruction on that kid.
He broke his cheekbones, his nose.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were crazy times.
Yeah, and the bocce ball over there in Dyker Park, and the football games we used to watch you play in Dyker. Michael was always in a jersey or a football jersey or a baseball jersey. Never like a Gugine. Never. Always under the radar. Never.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I learned a lot from you, Mike. I kept my mouth shut and just listened a lot.
Thank
You know?
Well, that's why I put you with Jackie.
Yeah. I was listening all. Oh my God. What stories that guy had.
He's a great guy.
He is. I love that guy.
We're
He
talking
was
about
happy go lucky.
Jackie D'Amico.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard he something happened with his nose. He had to get it fixed.
Yeah, he had a big hook.
Yeah. Now you can't call him Jackie the Nose. You got to call him Jackie D'Amico.
Jackie could have called worse. Jackie the Hook.
Jackie the Hook. Or what about the name? What? Mozambique? Remember that?
I gave Paul that name.
Yes. Yeah.
That name. I gave a lot of names. I have my own code names for everybody.
Hey, well, that's the life, man. You sit on the stoop and you couldn't give yourself a nickname. Somebody had to give it to you.
That's right. Whether you liked it or not, it's stuck.
Yeah, that's your nickname.
That's right.
Like my brother, he calls me Johnny Beach. Patty calls me Johnny Beach or Heavy, or you get a bunch of them and you live with them. Yeah,
I'm
we go.
going to throw a name at you.
Go ahead.
Much older than me too. Lenny
Yeah.
Riggio. Lenny Riggio.
Well, oh my God!
Barnes
I
and
remember.
Noble, Barnes and Noble. Lenny Riggio comes from 84th Street.
Yes, he does.
What a
Yeah,
success.
his daughter lived there, and his ex-wife lived on that block.
Yeah.
And she was dating Joe Butch, Joey Boy,
Oh, I didn't
for a
know.
while.
I didn't know.
Yeah, she was dating him for a long time ago. But it was a great time. You knew nobody ever did nothing wrong in that neighborhood because you knew the consequence.
We did a lot of things wrong, but we didn't do nothing wrong that upset the mechanisms put in place.
No, not at all. Even like with Jimmy the Blonde from Kaplan Buick, Joe Piney, they used to give him Joe Piney Amon. They gave him that name because he had a piece of every Christmas tree that came into New York. He used to give away Christmas trees down in Mulberry.
Yeah, Jimmy the Blonde, if anybody don't know, was Joe Butch's father.
Yes,
He lived on 84th Street between 16th and 50th.
yes, he owned.
When the cops were chasing us, we used to run on the street, on the stoop,
Yes,
and chase the cops away for us.
yeah, he was a gentleman. That guy.
Oh, Jimmy? Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Great guy.
perfect guy.
The reason why I brought up Lenny Riggio is that we had some people that were huge success stories that come out of our neighborhood.
Oh,
Lenny
yeah.
was a legit guy. I brought him up because here's a guy who, without the mob's influence or anything else, became a worldwide, world-known huge company, which is Barnes and Noble. So, but not only we could talk about the bad Italians, the criminal Italians, we could talk about some of the guys that did good things. And Lenny was a good guy, did a lot,
Yes.
etc. So he's a good man.
Yeah, and what about the guy who lived on 85th Street between 16th and 15th? He's the one who handmade the babushka pool cues in his garage. There was an old guy.
He lived next to Al Zach. He lived
Yes.
next to Al Zach.
Yes,
Holy Zach's brother. Right?
yes, unbelievable. Hey, listen, I probably could have flourished in that life, but I joined the Air Force. I was in the Air Force for 11 years.
Well, did Jackie give you some good advice? What did he tell you?
Oh, yeah. You're surrounded by assassins. Don't even get bothered with this.
That's right.
You don't, and I worked the feast a little bit. They were great down in Court Street. And I remember we went to the, across the street from Cafe Italia. There was a small restaurant on the corner there.
The Focacceria?
Yeah, it was a restaurant. It wasn't a focacceria. It was across the street from J&V. It was a brand new place. And we were all there. TC was there. Everybody was there. But you could hear the younger guys clacking, talking about everything. And I was like, oh, my God. So I got my filet de pomodoro and I went to the other end of the table. I was asses and elbows. I just kept my head down and started eating. And who taps me on the shoulder but Jackie? Goes, I want you to meet somebody. I stand up, I say, hi, how are you? And it was a guy from Howard Beach. His name was Dom. I don't know exactly who it was. Maybe you would know, Mike. And he says, this is John. And he goes, hey, I heard a lot about you from Jackie. I said, oh, thank you very much. And he went to go in his pocket to pull out a wad of cash and give it to me and say, here, I want you to have this. And I said, no, thanks. I'm being taken care of. So Jackie turns to him. He goes, you see what I mean? You see what I mean? He goes, this is an old timer. Look at them kids. They're all yakking their jaws. You hand them that wad, they'll take it in a minute. I said, no, thank you. And that's right after that is when Jackie told me, you're not for this life.
Yeah. At this time.
At this time. If it was 30 years ago, he says, if it was 30 years ago, you'd be fit right in. Not this time.
Jackie was
So,
a wise man, Jackie.
Yeah. Gentleman. Really funny guy. Always had something to say. And like somebody said, he'd talk to a tree.
That was me.
Yeah.
I seen him said that, right?
I seen him talking to that tree.
He said it to me.
That's funny shit.
And that's not a derogatory comment from him.
No, not at all.
Jackie embraced a lot of people. Until you burnt Jackie, then he was a different guy. But Jackie gave everybody a fair chance just to have a good time. And
oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Never. And didn't matter where you were or if you seen him and he seen you. Hey, how are you? How's everything? You know, the same with you. You two guys were approximately the same. Like, you know, you were gentlemen, never had a disparaging word for anybody. You know, and I'm honored to be on your show. Believe me. Believe me. Thank you. And I love the history lessons. I love the not like talking about other people. Like, you know, hey, listen, they did what they had to do. You do what you got to do, and never the two shall meet. You know what I mean? So
thank you, John. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. RJ, great job, baby.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
real quick.
All right.
You know, the art to being in the content thing, I taught this to Michael. Got to be able to tell a story.
Yeah.
Got to be able to talk in a way people can understand.
Right.
Got to have a little, a little dance inside your voice.
Yeah.
My sister, I just got a text from my sister.
Yeah.
She's hours away. She says, this John T guy is hilarious. I could listen to him talk all day.
Oh my God. Tell him thank you very much.
Is this going to be a future John T YouTube channel?
No, never happened.
Yeah,
I'm not suave. You know, it took me a while to hit the link on this thing. What are you kidding me?
No.
It's not easy.
I'm not that. Yeah, right.
Not easy.
Not easy, Junior. Not easy being green, baby. Not easy. But I love you guys. I love you, brother.
No, one other thing, John. For
Yeah.
me, maybe RJ's got something else to ask you.
Sure.
We got to get rid of Cashman immediately.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Cashman and Aaron Boone. Come on, man. That's baseball. Baseball 101. You miss a double play like that? Come on. Yankees, they got to get rid of them. Upper echelon got to go because you got the talent on the field. They're just not. Either they're not practicing, Mike, or I don't know what they're doing. What do you think of that?
I think the trades are disgusting. They're horrible. He's got $1 billion checkbook over the X amount of years, and he just mismanaged. He's a terrible GM. He's been a terrible GM. I'm not just saying it this year. I've been saying it for a decade. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Cash bum, not Cashman.
Right out. Right out. You had to see John Turturro. He freaked out. You got to look at that video.
Nick Turturro, right?
Nick Turturro.
Yeah, he's a huge Yankee fan.
Yeah, it was it just seemed like everything that they screwed up, it was baseball 101. Mike, you could have done a better job at second base than this guy. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well,
Unbelievable.
It goes back to motivation too, and I don't know if Boone had it in him near the end. I think when he seen the Astros, you could see his face change in the dugout from when he played the other series and they hit the Astros. It was like he changed. It's like what's going to happen wrong? Look all the time when he just looked at his face. Well, anyway,
Hey, I want to ask John another question. One more.
Go ahead.
John, I have to say,
what?
Again, Michael doesn't like talking about himself. I got to pull it out of other people. But I'm just curious. We've had such an outpour of people, which is the biggest shock to me is the outpour has come from Michael's community, where he was like lived out his whole life. I'd say most of the people who reach out through phone calls, emails, comments, text messages, anywhere you can, I think someone even sent a message by bottle in the ocean.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, like what's Michael like perceived that? Like perceived like
all right, I'll tell you. Michael's the prince of the city. He was the prince of the city, and what he got was a raw deal. That was all politics. All politics. The new regime was coming in, and they started pinning shit on Michael. And Michael, in his blood, and I truly believe this, and I'll go to my grave with this, would have never did what he did if he wasn't treated like that. He is a man's man, Michael. A man's man. And would have never, ever did what he did unless he definitely had to. And you can't keep a guy in that kind of position with nothing for his family for no reason. If he did something wrong, you could say, all right, he did something wrong. But Michael is beloved in Bensonhurst, in New York City. Everybody misses him. He's an amazing gentleman. Amazing gentleman, RJ. I can't say enough about him.
Thank you, John.
You're very welcome, brother.
I'm glad to hear somebody else say it because I tell him this every day.
I'm not blowing warm smoke up his ass. I'm telling you how it is.
I'm telling you guys, like I've been saying this to people before I started my show with Michael. I've been out with Michael. I know his family. He knows my family. I wish people could see. To me, he answers a question that I've researched for years and years, over a decade of my life, that there's more to a gangster, to people in Cosa Nostra. There's more to Cosa Nostra than just this hit him up, bang, go bury your body somewhere. And I think he's one of the greatest gentlemen I've met in my life. And when I read all the outpouring that comes in, I say, wow, it's unbelievable how people how much respect. I mean, we've gotten people who say, get on the phone with us and say, man, this guy is an honor. It's such it's an honor to be on the phone with you. Like, it's unbelievable to me. So I wanted to ask someone who's there right now, who's in that, who knows the people there.
Well, I've known him almost all my life. I know of Michael. I know how he is, and he's just a family man. Everything encompasses his family, and if you're in that circle, you're loved, and he'll treat you with respect. He'll treat you with honor, no matter what position you are or what position you're in. He always treated you as an equal. Now, there are some Gugines, that they acted like made guys, but they weren't, and they acted like they were tough guys, and they were the braggadocious, and like you said, Mike, the loudest animal in the jungle is always the weakest one. You know what I mean?
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. That was nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got a good head on your shoulders, Junior.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. A great show. You guys are doing a great job.
Tell your brother I said hello.
I will. He's on somewhere.
Yeah,
I saw him in the comment. He's breaking your.
Yeah, he's going to be breaking my balls. I know that. But definitely. Join Pantheon, join Mikey D. Leonardo. No excuses. And no excuses for you not to join.
Thank you. We'll drop a link in the live chat.
Thank you, John.
Oh, you know what? Let me ask you one question.
Oh,
It always hit me, like, with Joe Colombo and the Italian American Civil Rights League. Do you think he was trying to separate himself from the family by going that route? Because there was a lot of money to be made there, and he wasn't giving it up, so they wanted to give it to this bishop or somebody to run it. Because the word came down from, I guess, Don Carlo. Too much exposure. But the other families weren't getting exposed. It was just him. You know what I mean?
well, what he did, he pulled a lot of the judges and the politicians and put them on the stage, and they were holding hands. Hollywood people. It was a great thing when he started. The concept was great because the Italians really didn't have no representation at the time.
Right.
And this was a good vehicle for it. And like every good, the Irish should have it, the Black should have it, Spanish should have it. We all should have something to represent us as a community, no matter what community you belong to. And
Yeah.
Joe put together something that was amazing, but he forgot he was a boss of a family.
Yeah.
Should have let it go a little earlier.
Man,
That's a great question, by the way.
yeah, you gotta give it to him. He had a lot of pull in that Godfather movie. What was going to be said, what wasn't going to be said. So
Remember that. I remember it then. As a kid.
yeah, I saw a thing by my brother. All right, my brother is smarter and better looking than I am.
That's a hell of a compliment. See that, John?
Yeah, see that?
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Make sure you tell him I'm better looking and smarter than you. All right. That's you, Patty. Patty, you're better looking and smarter than me any day. And twice on Sunday, pal. All right, guys. I took up enough of your time. I know some other people want to get on. I love you all. Brother, I'll be talking to you.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll get together for a little macanudo and a little drink. Bring our Jay along. We'll have a nice little meal.
Thank you, Johnny.
All right. Ciao, guys.
Take care, John.
Bye.
All right. Next, we're going to bring on, let's see here. Michael, you're not tired yet, right?
I'm waiting for the espresso.
All right.
I'm going to put the espresso machine. Get it. Bring them on.
All right. Let's see. Is that Rob?
Hey, what's up, RJ?
Rob, man.
What's up, Rob?
Michael's coming right back on. He's just making himself an espresso. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you, man?
Man, I tell you, you go back to when I was on Black Handprint still, right?
Oh yeah, I remember.
You were following me for a long time, brother. You left me a comment one day early. I got between both my channels now, I got like 20,000 subscribers, but you were with me probably 200, 300 subscribers in. And you left a comment one day. It was a great comment. You said, you would leave comments on all my videos. And then one day you said, I like your videos, but I'm still not sure if I want to subscribe yet. I'm not real sure. I don't just subscribe to any channel. And I remember thinking about that. And I wrote back to you and I said, man, you're just like me. I'm not one of those people that just hit the subscribe button. You got to earn my subscription. And I believe that. It taught me something, though. When you did that, it taught me something like a subscription isn't something you ask someone for. It's something that you earn. Just saying, hey, subscribe. No, if you're doing good, a person will subscribe. And then I remember maybe a few months in, you told me I subscribed to your channel today. I thought that was a very gentleman way to go about it.
Well, he's obviously got good taste. Been following you for that long.
Hey, good afternoon, Scott. How's everything?
No. That's a comment. Hang on. This is Rob.
Yeah. Hey, Rob.
So Rob's a long time. Goes back all the way to when I was my first 500 subscribers. He goes back a long way. He's a big supporter of our channel. He's a supporter.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's your handle, Rob?
Rob.
Oh, you're on as just Rob? Okay.
Rob
Yeah, well,
Zod.
Mass. I'm from Springfield.
I was locked up with a couple of guys, those armored car guys from around that area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Charlestown. Oh, yeah, that's big out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's happening, Rob? I see you got a nice testimonial shirt on there. That guy looks familiar.
Yeah. I just happen to be wearing it today.
See that? And you got it right on. Very apropos. So, Rob, what piqued your interest in this Mob genre stuff? Because RJ says you've been around fun.
Yeah, I ever since really high school, I was interested in it, but I never took it seriously up until maybe 5 years ago, and I started to read books, and it really just it fascinated me about not so much the crimes that they did that got done, but the lifestyle and the belief, the fact that it's kind of your own government, you know, and the history of the mafia, Cosa Nostra, and how at one time it was needed in Sicily, you know, and how the lifestyle got brought over here, and all things get corrupt, and but yeah, that's how it all got started. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good synopsis. Pretty good opinion you have, and you can see you're well read into that, and you take it seriously. And I'm impressed. You know, you talk about things get corrupted. Even corrupt people could get corrupt, right? Maybe a little faster. But corruption is in every venue. Just about any major corporation, there's some form of corruption. So that's a very interesting point about corrupt people being corrupt within their own. So, and that's usually a collapse, like the Roman Empire and other empires in the past that have existed. It always comes from within, usually not outside forces. Right. RJ and I spoke about that before. It's usually not outside forces that hurt you. It's what's inside.
Yeah.
Brutus killing Caesar. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Rides of March. So you're right. Very, very good. I'm impressed and glad to have you on board and carried over from RJ's channel. See, now I owe RJ another favor. You came over here.
Yeah. Hey, well, I know there's a lot of people waiting. I'll let you guys go. It's really
Thank
nice
you,
to talk.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you.
Take care, Rob. Let's see. Hey, Tobias, I see you there, but I got to see your face to bring you on, brother. All right.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing well. What's your question, brother?
My question. Honestly, Mr. D, I'm quite interested in the sort of perception of the dumb fella around John Gotti Jr., because at least from my research, that doesn't seem to be the case. A lot of people kind of discredit his intelligence, or maybe say he didn't belong at all in that sort of lifestyle. But from my understanding, that you guys were quite close, so obviously you would know better.
Yeah, it's a quality question, of course. Like, if I could clear up these misnomers and this misinformation out there, again, it's my opinion, so people have a right to challenge what I say. And if I can like somebody else can hate them, but we still got to weigh the opinions of an outsider like yourself that don't know. And I'll leave that up to you to judge. Junior was for me. I wound up being his gumbada. I baptized his namesake son. That was grandfather's name, and the great grandfather's name, which is John. You know, we had an extremely close relationship. Super smart, very well read. He gave me the book The Art of War, you know, to read. And I'll tell you his favorite movie. I shouldn't go down that road with favorite movie, should I? But I'll tell you his favorite movie is Spartacus.
Spartacus. Oh.
Spartacus, yeah. He wanted everybody, the younger guys, before they got straightened out, you're going to go watch Spartacus. So, yeah, he loves Indian history.
I've heard that. Yeah, I remember in the 60 Minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought him a nice ring of Chief Joseph. I try to get it close as possible to Chief Joseph with a headdress and all this nice stuff. And he had a big smile when I gave it to him. Yeah, if he delves in into something that he studies it well. I don't know if many people notice about him. When his father, he knew his father was going to prison. He went to school to be a paralegal. Get on the visits just in case he was barred.
Really?
Yeah, he had an issue that he would have to visit his father personally. Pretty good plan. And he went to paralegal, and he passed. As far as I know, he graduated, and he's a paralegal. I'm pretty sure. He could correct me down the road if it's not true. But I think he is. So whatever he did well as far as that. I get insulted when people say somebody's stupid and they don't know them. The guy has muscles and this and that. That's a whole other area and how you behave and all that. 100%. But don't take away from the guy's intelligence as like his father. I mean, it was a terrible thing that people would pass along. This guy was a buffoon. We heard Joe Coffey say it on interviews with Joe Coffey had to go look in the mirror and say he was just a dead drunk all the time with an attitude, and who knows if he was corrupt or not by anybody. I'm not saying he was. I have no first-hand knowledge. But the people that throw that, like we talked about earlier, that first stone at people, what's your motive? What's your agenda? What, are you jealous of the guy? What is it? You don't like Italians?
Yeah.
You don't like mob guys? I get it. That's okay. You can have your reasons. But then insult the guy's intelligence is, to me, is not fair.
Yeah. Mr. Coffey always kind of came off as a wannabe tough guy in his documentary appearances.
Yeah. I was supposed to give. I'm not going to tell that story. I'm going to say I was slipped. But he would hang out in the restaurant called the Lanes. All socialites would hang. He would sit at the bar. And I was at a dinner one night. I met somebody from another group and really high up guy. And we were in there. And who walks in? It's Joe Coffey at the bar, acting like a fool, dead drunk. You know, so that's Joe Coffey. Again, he had an agenda, whatever it was. That's him. But it wasn't right for him to demean John Sr. in that way. He can say whatever he wants. Like I said, everybody's got an opinion. But for me, it's not fair.
Do you find it odd that I guess both, you could say the father and the son, the perception a lot from the outsider point of view is that these guys weren't very intelligent. Not necessarily that they weren't very, good street gentlemen, but that their intelligence was low. But at least from my research and from what you said about both individuals, that doesn't really seem to be the case at all.
Well, Tobias, let me just put it this way. Because you're intelligent, super intelligent, you could be a nuclear physicist, you could be a rocket scientist, you could be the best surgeon in the world, you could be the most cleanest cop ever, you could be whatever it is, right? The most extreme intellect. That doesn't mean in life you're going to make a mistake or not make a mistake. Smartest people in the world make mistakes.
Very true.
How legit you are, down the road, huge mistakes are made. There's doctors that kill their wives. There's women that could be the best, smartest people that kill their husbands. They made a mistake. And how smart you are, we're built as human beings. And people allow, no matter how smart you are, to make that mistake. Is it a stupid mistake? Yeah. But that doesn't diminish their intelligence. They made a stupid mistake, a stupid decision in their life. So if somebody makes one mistake in their life, it could be a critical one that changes everyone's life. I'm talking about legitimate. I'm not just talking about the bomb. But when you make that mistake, doesn't diminish your intelligence. There's a lot of smart people in prison, not just in this, all over the world.
100%. Yeah.
Dissidents. There's you could be in Iran right now, rioting. You could be one of the smartest guys around. You get locked up because you're a political dissident. You're trying to stand up for cause, but you're locked up, and you may get killed for doing that. Doesn't make you wrong, doesn't make you stupid. You know what I mean? It's all perception. So hopefully I answered that. And for a lot of people out there, that smart people do stupid things.
Definitely.
Great to get your perspective. I would add into that myself also and say, like, it's really, I'm always a little, whenever someone has these, absolute statements, which is very rare that anything is absolutely one way. You know, to say that to say he's dumb.
1 second, I'm on the phone.
Fall off the planet? Where'd you go?
Sorry, I was on that. My mother's calling me.
No.
I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone. Leave me alone.
That's all right. Answer your mom. I wish I had my mom here to answer. All yelling at me.
Thank you, sir. Please continue, RJ.
No, I would say whenever people have those really absolute statements, people don't really realize, but you're telling something about yourself, because most things are more balanced than simply you're dumb or you're super smart. You know, it's not usually that absolute. There's no person that's just all wise, all wisdom all the time. There's no one that's all dumb, all stupid all the time. You can find a bit of intellect no matter where you're looking for it. And you know, you can sit with a homeless guy on the park bench and get as much life-changing information as you can get from a guy at the top of a Wall Street firm. If your mind is open enough to get it. I've studied Junior Gotti a lot, and if someone called him dumb, then they didn't study Junior Gotti. Now, is there things that someone could say, I think this here, how he handled this could have been handled different. How he handled that could have been different. He did this well, did this bad. That's a way to assess something. But this thing of he's dumb. Okay. But
you know what? You touched on a great subject. Outside of John Jr. or anybody else, you talk about intelligence, right? It's measured with IQ tests, which I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't believe any IQ test. Profiling tests where they do all these tests. Did you read Homer? Did you read Homer's book? You know, because you can't answer that doesn't mean you're stupid. Does it mean that? Because you don't know how to build a rocket or you don't know how to add certain numbers together, you didn't know trigonometry, does that make you stupid? No. There's extremely smart people that are illiterate. They know the world. They know how to function in the world. They know how to build business. When you talk about going way back in time, not everybody went to college. There was no colleges 1,000 years ago that everybody had to go to and went to. They figured it out through normal, everyday intelligence and practical learning on how to live. And the people discovered the wheel all the way till the combustible engine, till computers. You know, that's natural intelligence. And you don't have to go to school to say, well, what do you mean you don't know how to solve that algebra problem? You must be stupid. No, I just never studied algebra. I'm not stupid. You know?
Definitely.
So, not having knowledge doesn't mean smart or not smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's how you problem solve in life. That's a smart person. It's how you navigate life without that knowledge of studying the book.
Yeah, often I found definitely not just intelligence, but anything that someone says against you was often a reflection of an insecurity that they unfortunately have.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah, just especially as a younger man, I was a little picked on a little bit, and only till I sort of grew up. Not that I'm an old man, but only till I grew up, I realized that all these people just had their own insecurities. They're just maybe they were just jealous of me, and I've often found that definitely a lot with the Gottis, probably because they're so popular. Like they're the most famous name in this genre, and everybody attacks them for some reason. But teaches their own.
Well, you touched on something again, and I think RJ, you froze for a minute. Again, you've been freezing up a little bit. You touched on something again. He's been a lightning rod, John Senior, right? That name he carries a lot of weight since 1985. And what else do people going to talk about when it comes to the mob? There's a lot of other guys that have a huge impact on that life.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not in the limelight. They weren't in the spotlight. John didn't put himself in the spotlight. But this is what people talk about. This man. This is the guy the press built up. This is the guy that the legacy that he carried on and the way he died, the way he lived his life. Good, bad, or indifferent in everybody's eyes. But John is here for people to talk about. It was Al Capone for 50 years, 60 years, right? Everything was Al Capone. So this is the guy of the time. He's a contemporary still, even though he's dead since June 10th.
Mm-hmm.
2002. He's 20 years ago. He's a contemporary. So, what else in this genre does anybody want to hear? They like to hear John Gotti stories. So, and there's plenty of other guys people could talk about that were major players in this life, made tons of money, and didn't have to kill everybody doing it. So, but he's the guy, and that's it. That's what everybody wants to hear.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I'm a kid from a small town in Ontario, Canada, with no, I mean, I remember hearing about I believe it's the Mustelitos out of Hamilton, obviously the Rizzutos out of Montreal. Yeah, and then I believe the Bonanno family had a presence in Toronto as well.
Yeah, are you near Hamilton?
About I'd say an hour and a half.
Oh,
small town called Georgetown.
Woodbridge, near Woodbridge, where are you?
Sort of near Woodbridge. I'm the biggest city. Have you heard of Brampton?
Branson?
Brampton?
No.
From Toronto, I'm about an hour drive. Very, very rural area, small. Unfortunately, nobody's heard of Georgetown. Oh my, there goes my mother again. Gentlemen, I better let you guys go. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks for representing Canada.
I gotta go. Take care, gentlemen.
Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. It was good. Well, all in all, I would say that was a good show. I wanted to ask you one final question that I was going to ask you before we brought all the guests on. The last question that we were asked a whole lot of in our comments was after our Jackie D'Amico show. A lot of feedback came in for Jackie. A lot of support came in for Jackie. I don't know if I saw even one negative comment underneath the Jackie D'Amico show. Anything you would add or say about Jackie D'Amico?
Well, I don't know where Jackie is today. I can only guess. Jackie was a huge impact in my life. He's the guy who actually pinched my finger. I always had a loyalty for Jackie in that life. He was my guy. And I'm going to, maybe shortly I will, when we get the Patreon, there's my kitty cat's calling me. She wants to eat. I will tell the story that Jackie has never heard. Only maybe one or two people know. Definitely one person knows it. Maybe his son knows it. But Jackie was a great guy. And he wasn't a vicious guy. He only looked to help people. He loved young people. He wanted to see people advance. Jackie did not have green eyes. He was not a greedy man by far. He gave more than he took, for sure. Jackie's a testament what I liked as a kid growing up in that life. Jackie was the old timer, even though he was younger than the old timers like Mr. Lilo, who he learned from at the time, and some other guys you had mentioned. Jackie has a wealth of knowledge in his head about Lower Manhattan. He's a Manhattan guy. His father was not in the life by far. I think his father was an electrician, if I remember him saying, and he would give Jackie beatings to stay off the corner. But Jackie gravitated to that. Jackie has the gift of gab, as I always say, in a good way. And I wish him well. I hope he is well. I hope he's well. And I hope he's got a few leaves in his pocket. He can live out his old age. He's probably about 85 right now, I'm going to guess. Jack, I'm giving up your age, if you hear me. 85, 86, but I'm sure he's still ornery, still feisty, and in a good way feisty, and still out there. I hope so. Great man.
So there's one good question that I think is up on the screen right now. I think after we all get, at some point in our life, of all of our lives, we look back and we all ask ourselves this same question. So Awesome Person AP says, Michael, after it's all said and done, do you have any regrets?
Well, if you know, the tongue-in-cheek thing is, a lot of people say is, yeah, I would do it all over again. I have no regrets. But that's not acceptable to me. For me, they could say that. Maybe they feel good saying it, and it makes them get by in life. But we all have regrets. Come on. If you leave a negative impact on somebody's life and you have a conscience, how could you not have a regret? How do you live with yourself going forward thinking that everything you've done was right, even if it was a wrong scenario? The regret for what you did to hurt yourself, I can understand that. You don't have no regrets. You want to say you did that. But if your impact of your regret that what you did in the past affected others, which usually does, how do you hurt yourself? You have to be involved with somebody that hurts to have a regret over something, right? You have to interact with somebody. So along the way in life, you do make mistakes as human beings. And you should be able to say, yeah, I have a regret, or 2 or 10. Sure you have regrets.
That's how you learn.
That's how you learn. And hopefully teach others that want to have an open mind by what you did as a mistake, and they can learn from you. And I did that as a kid. Like John said earlier, I didn't say much growing up. I was around legends growing up in that life. And I sat there and I just listened and learned. And from their mistakes, or people I didn't even know, you just hear stories. You say, I ain't going down that friggin' road. But you still make mistakes in life, because after a while, you build up your power, you build this, you get comfortable that you may think you're a little more entitled, and you take more liberties that you wouldn't have took in the past. And in the way, you hurt people. So, and I'm not just talking about mob people. I'm talking about everybody in your circle. So, yeah, regrets. Sure, I have regrets. Absolutely. It's a great question. And, it's coming to terms.
Ollie, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the donation.
What donation? Where's the donation?
Oh, yeah. Let me see. This gentleman here sent some money and sent a $75 super chat. So thank you, Ali. Thank you. We'll give it to Michael's into the kids softball teams. So we'll donate the.
We're going to donate anything that they brought today. We'll figure out where to give it to, whether it be a Humane Society, etc., for children, abused women. We'll find a home for that money. But we thank you very, very much. We didn't ask for donations, but we appreciate it, and we will pass that along somewhere, and we'll let you know where it goes. Thank you.
So, guys, I put information into the community board today as far as how you can subscribe to our Patreon show. Please subscribe to the show. Be a lot of good information on there. Thank you for coming on to our first live. It's been fun. It's been great. So, Michael, you want to close out here?
Yeah, for me, it was a great pleasure hearing the people from my past, people I don't know with the same background, people that don't know me personally or not from my neighborhood. They see how we're perceived as an organization, as a group, and personally about myself. So we really appreciate this, and I just want to give you what I know, and if you're interested in it, things in the past. I'm not going to talk about contemporary guys because I don't know, and I don't care to go down that road and guess. I don't think that's fair to anybody. So, but anything in the past that's a matter of record, I will expound on. Anything that's out there from other people that I may have a little different opinion of them. Like I said earlier, I will give you my opinion on that, and I'm pretty strong in my opinions. And I love a healthy debate. So if anybody wants to debate me at any time, I'm ready.
Jeff Nadeau also donated to the show. Thank you, Jeff. Like Michael just said, any money that's donated, we'll find a home for it.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Also, Daniel Jones from London made a donation. Thank you, Daniel. Same rules apply there. Well, this is our first live show on No Excuses. Guys, thank you. We appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. We look forward to seeing you on Patreon. Again, there's a link in the live chat. There's also a link on the community. So November 1st, we will be going on Patreon. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I think this was a good first live show. I was pleased with it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
We'll do it again.
We had a woman, Kate Lacey. I understand she got COVID. I think we all want to wish her the best, a speedy recovery. She's a big fan of the show, and she was going to be on the live chat. She was picked out of the basket, and she couldn't make it today. So we hope she gets better. And the other people too that were going to come on for whatever reason you didn't. Hope nothing happened in your lives, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Yep. And we just got another donation from Michael Bucks. Michael, thank you very much for your donation. Very much appreciated.
Another good contributor to the show. Very good commentaries and questions. Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah, bye.